Good afternoon and welcome to Corridors of Justice, broadcasting on hakifm.or.ke. I am Mabea.
And I am Salama.
And our resident lawyer is back in the studio, and she's going to take us through, acquisition of land.
Yes.
And atatuambia hata those words zinatumika kwa katiba. Conveyancy, they mean different things.
Yes.
She is called Miss Sandra Koskei.
Thank you, Mabea. How are you?
We are fine.
Salama,
Fine.
how are you?
Fine.
Nice to see you back in the studio.
Nice to see you too.
Thank
Yes.
you.
So, what is land? Tuanze tunapo.
Okay, land generally has a very large description under the Constitution, but land constitutes more or less what sits on the soil,
Yes.
and to some certain extent to how can I say, to a certain extent to the up skies. We call it up skies.
Up skies.
Yes, and then to the below, but it's to a certain extent. Yeah. So a landowner, anyone who has a title to a property, enjoys some extent of the, how can I? It's called, like, can we say, the upper part of the land, which more or less consists to the heavens, but to a certain limit, and below. So that's why you see people who have properties can make developments up to, the big towers.
Oh,
yes. Now it's to a certain extent. Yeah. So it's to some certain extent, we call it to the heavens,
and to the heavens.
Yes, down to the sea, uku chini sasa. But as it's limited, you can't now say entirely that is mine, to the deep. So even yes. So there's some limitation to that. But there's a good description. You can go see that under the Constitution, Article 260, makes a wide description of what land constitutes.
So now, acquiring this explanation you've given of land, so it's changing ownership. So land acquisition, is just to
acquire property, acquire land, and there's a whole transactional stage, or more or less. It's a transaction, It's through contract. So it's where a party purchases and a party sells. So it's an agreement to buy and sell, And there are three, I would want to make it easier for our listeners, I would want to categorize this land acquisition transaction into three main stages. There's what we call pre-contract stage, and contract stage, and what we call completion stage, So pre-contract stage. So, for example, Salama, you want to get a property somewhere in Nairobi, Kilimani.
Yeah.
As a purchaser, there are things you need to do to establish this particular land. Does it really belong to the vendor?
Yes.
Yeah. Does he say, he says he's the owner. Does he have full ownership? Does she or he co-own the property?
Yes.
Yeah. Number two, where is it located? Yeah. What is the current use of the property? Yeah. So those are the pre-contract activities that need to take place. We call it investigation of a title.
Oh, yes.
Yes. So you need to investigate a title. An investigation of a title, you look in various ways. You look in various places, So the first place you go to is the land registry. As a purchaser, get a copy of the title from the vendor. This is the seller. Get a copy of the title. You apply to the land registry, regardless of where you are. Nairobi, Isiolo, there are different registries there. There's the main Nairobi block registry, and there's the central registry now, which accommodates like the entire registries of that are any registry that is outside Nairobi. So for example, yours is in Kilimani, that is Nairobi. So you get a copy of the title from the seller, then you make an application. Once the search comes out, it will show the different, like, who's the current registered owner of the property. Definitely it should be reading that it's the vendor, the person you're purchasing from. If it reads different, now that's where you start halting.
Red flag.
And this applies to companies selling land as well.
Perfect.
It's different from, I'm assuming that was buying land individually.
Yes.
Salama Bakita is buying a piece of land in Kilimani, of course, from me. I like the example.
Why is it from you?
Because I like feeling rich.
No, if anything that any property that is owned either by a judicial person, that being a company, or a natural person, you can get such records from the land registry. But where a company is the seller, you would also want to go to the company registry. Check whether there's, if this company truly has this property, is it charged? A company can take a loan against one of its properties. Such a loan or such a mortgage should be registered at the company's registry. So it will appear as what we call a debenture. So if you're buying property from a company, I would advise that you go to the land registry as well as the company registry to check whether the company, within the company registry, is the property charged? Is it, does it have any encumbrance? Encumbrance is a liability on land. Yes. So for a company, 2 registries are important.
Right.
The company registry and the land registry. Yeah. So those are 2 places you can search. Another place that I would advise that you go search is the county government. Yeah. Each county government has records of the different parcels of land. So you'd want to go and check the county government to see, have the rates been paid? Yeah. Have the rents been paid? Are there any notices that have been placed by the county government on these properties? Yeah. And also just research around the issue of physical planning, because physical planning is really important, particularly in Nairobi, and the issues of zoning. There are some places in Nairobi where you cannot build flats more than... So you want to check if you're a potential developer and you're purchasing a property. Go check, if I'm to purchase this from this guy, is this something I can construct only 2 floors, or can I go to the heights of 14 floors? So that's another place I would say you search in. Another place that you can go search is a surveyor's department to just check the boundaries of the property. You don't want to be told you're buying 50 by 100 and that is a measurement that is inaingia kwa property ya mwingine. Exactly. So you want to clear, you're buying property that is a road reserve. Yes. So you want
and we've had cases whereby people, my goodness,
you're buying property that is, or it's bordering, literally half of it is it's riparian, it's close to a river. So check also through the surveyor's department, check the boundaries of the property. So I think those are the most, I would tell, if you're investigating a title, let's go to those five places. You should be able to establish the true ownership, use, and the limitation of this land as a purchaser. Yes.
I'm listening. You're listening to me, James Mabea.
And I am Salama Bakita.
And of course, our resident lawyer, Miss Sandra Kosgei.
Thank
you. Mentioned something to do with the rates, rents, and planning. Planning ni ile, sometimes they say, no past 10 floors, constructing upwards.
Yes.
Or this is how we want constructions or houses to look like in our area.
Yes.
You could touch on rents.
Okay.
What is the difference between rents and rates?
Perfect. So rates are paid to the county government, and this is whereby a owner of a property enjoys what we call absolute ownership. So this is where it's yours and yours. The government has no involvement in this. You enjoy that property to perpetuity until your death. You transfer to your children. There's no government coming in. So you pay what is called rates, because you see, for example, the government provides things like sewerage, water, electricity. So it's for those services that you enjoy for the government. Those now you pay rates, because you can't enjoy your property. You can't have built your nice bungalow, and there's waste.
And
so what about sewerage?
You connected your toilet to the sewer line.
Thank you. You see, so that's why you pay rates. Now rent is whereby you have what we call a lease from the government. So it's like the government has priority rights to the property. So you're given what is called a lease. Most of the lease are for 99 years, which now are subject to renewal. Most of these properties in Nairobi are not freehold. They are not, people do not own them absolutely. They are under the, how can I say, custodianship by the county government. Now the county government, now from national government, now with the help of the county government. So this is where you enjoy, there's a head lessor, which is the the more or less the national government. It's normally the government of Kenya. So this is where you pay rent. You see the way, for example, you live in your one-bedroom apartment. It's not yours. You pay rent. Thank you. So the same way, you have this property, but there's someone, the government has prior ownership rights. So you pay rent to enjoy exclusive. Ni yako, but remember, there is someone in charge, and that's the government. And after the expiry of the 99 years, you need to again apply to the government and tell them, now renew my rent.
After 99 years?
Yes. Most of these leases are for 99. They can't be for more. Because if it's for more, it's taken that now you enjoy absolute. And that's a different tenure. That's a different set of ownership, which is now what we call freehold. This is called leasehold.
Leasehold,
Yes, freehold. Freehold is where you enjoy absolute, and this is where you pay rates. So if you have a freehold title, you only pay rates to the government. But if you have a leasehold, you pay both rates because you enjoy those other services together now with the rent. Yes. So if you're a purchaser and you're looking at getting a lease, you'll have to make sure that the vendor ule anakuzia has both a rate clearance from the county government and has a rent clearance certificate from the government of Kenya, which you get through also from the county government. So if you're buying a leasehold, if you're getting a leasehold interest, you'll get those two. If you're getting a freehold title, you'll only require a rate. Thank you. Exactly.
What I'm gathering from this whole explanation is two things. One, freehold, leasehold. Does it mean there are two types of a title deed?
Perfect. Exactly. You said it. There are two types of titles.
So freehold and
leasehold.
And Salama can buy land that is on leasehold.
Yes, you can get a leasehold.
So if you're going to buy land that is not absolutely yours, you should be knowing that as well, right?
Yes, the title, it reads a certificate of
leasehold,
and it shows from the government of Kenya.
Yes.
Okay, so it will read certificate of lease. The other one actually just reads title deed.
Title deed.
Exactly.
So if Salama has bought land on leasehold, does it mean ile lease period ikisha? What happens?
And there are two things. Upon the so I don't want to get too technical because there are things to do with residuary interest and all that, but I would say this. Upon just a few days, don't wait until the 99 days, let's say 14 days towards the lapse of the 99
now this
years.
is Salama.
Yes. 14 days. You see, now, for example, you've enjoyed 98 years plus how many days? 14 days, 365. That sum, you've enjoyed that. If you do not apply for a renewal within those 14 days, the property reverts back to the government. They enjoy what we call a residuary interest, meaning, you see, I told you they have priority rights. They just sit on it. So you, as the current we call you a lessee. The government is a lessor. Okay, you as a lessee, you need to apply for what we call a renewal. If you do not, you have the first priority because you are the current occupier. If you do not, the government, the property, if you do not apply within that time, it will revert to the government, and the government can reallocate it to someone else.
Reallocate a piece of land you had bought.
Yes,
you've not renewed.
You've not renewed.
So why do you even buy land on leasehold anyway?
Because most properties right now, most of the properties in urban setup are leaseholds. Zile za nyumbani, freehold.
And why the difference? We shall go
because you see, the government has more interest in
urban land.
See, how does it? It will, even talking about expenditure, it makes more sense to collect rent. If you give people property, freehold in Nairobi, how are you going to sustain this budget? So it makes sense because the urban areas are more populated. And you have more people with money here. So that's why the government is very hesitant on issuing freeholds. They hardly have. Let me tell you, 3/4 of these properties here are leasehold. Kid you not, I think even the property that we're sitting on is pretty much a leasehold.
Oh Lord.
Yes.
Yes, 99 years. If it's not renewed, it's reverted back.
Exactly, it's reverted. You're given the first priority to renew. But if you slacky, exactly.
Can I buy land and then sell it on lease to another individual?
Perfect, you can. But what you'll have to seek is a consent from the government. Because, as I told you, they remain to be the head lessor. You see, this is the chain. There's the government, there's Mabea, and there's Salama.
Yes.
So government is the head lessor.
Mm-hmm.
This one is a sub lessor. So if you want to sell to Salama, so you have to tell the big man upstairs, yo, I'm selling to this other person.
Yeah, that is if my land was on lease.
Yes.
I'm saying I've bought the land. I'm paying rates, not rents.
Also, you're enjoying.
So it's my absolute
freehold.
ownership.
Yes.
Then I rent it out to Salama, of course. Salama buys it on lease. Is it possible?
Nope.
It's a freehold, so you can't.
Exactly.
Oh,
You can't create a lease.
I cannot sell to Salama land for 50 years and then I say, after that,
that's
get out of
lying.
here.
No, that's where.
I cannot come 50 years later.
How is it freehold and then you want to sell it to me on lease?
You can only transfer what you have. You don't have a leasehold interest.
Yes, you don't.
If you want to create a lease, if you want to still, then just create properties. Create like those nice apartments in Kilimani.
And I rent them out.
Yes, just rent them
So
out.
that I get, she gives me rent, I pay rates to the government.
Exactly. You have it right.
And
Can we have a litigation whereby I can rent? I want to lease land.
No, let me ask you, Sandra.
Yes.
If Mabea has bought the land on lease,
Yes.
see, and then aniuzie on lease pia. So what happens after the 99 days have elapsed and bado hakuna renewal? That goes back to the government.
It does, because you see, he's relinquishing, he's more or less assigning all the rights that he enjoys, which includes the right for renewal and everything. So it's now upon you to approach, because you sought the consent from the head lessor
yes.
for you to now fit in his shoes.
Yeah.
So it's your responsibility now to approach the same government and seek a renewal.
So
of
it
your
means
lease.
I'm totally out of the
You're
picture.
totally out of it. She gets a new certificate of lease under her name.
All right.
But if they do as such, they can see that there was a previous owner by the name of
Yes.
Mabea. That's what most of these titles, you get what is called high historical search. So most of these leases, this leases date even back to 1980s when we had what we call the Crown government. Yeah. So you see very weird names, like very white names. Yes. Most of the titles, they will give you that chronological order from Mabea to this. All that, yes. But the title, okay, if you go to the first page, itaonesha tu Salama. But if you do a proper search, you'll be able to see all the previous owners. Yes.
Tafadhali, kama uko na maswali, unaweza sikia conversation imewaka moto ndani ya Haki FM studios. Get us on Twitter at Haki FM1, Instagram Haki FM1. Slide in our DM, leave us a message there. Of course, WhatsApp, SMS ni 0799387613. The lawyer knows more about land. She has your answers. All you have to do is just ask.
Hii ni Haki FM, Oasis of Justice.
You're listening to me, Mabea.
And I am Salama.
And of course, we are in company of Miss Sandra Kosgei. We were talking about someone having an apartment.
Yes.
And you sell a unit to someone else.
Okay, so in such a setup, the developer, I would call them because most of these are developments, the developer would have what is called a mother title.
Yes.
So it's the title upon which the development sits. Okay, so if he's in the business of selling such units, you as purchaser of this unit will get a title, but under the current regime, most of these people would have what you call a certificate. You draw up a document that is called a lease, with the developer, you register that lease, you'll get what is called a certificate of lease, but as we said, a certificate of lease can only be for a 99-year period. And currently we've had a shift of laws. Normally we'd register them under the Land Registration Act, but there's a recent act that passed in 2020 known as the Sectional Properties Act. This Sectional Properties Act, 2021, not 2020, Sectional Properties Act now gives people what we call sectional units, and you'll get what is called a sectional title. No longer a certificate of lease, but a sectional title. And the law now even requires that if you cover a certificate of lease of an apartment, you convert it to a sectional title. But right now, bado the land registry has not given us has not provided the infrastructure for that kind of change. Yeah, we are still working with the old regime, but I think as we advance towards this year, maybe we'll start seeing a lot of registration under the Sectional Properties Act.
So now you've done the due diligence of checking the history of the land.
Yes.
Whether the land is, the uses of the land. Oh, by the way, we could just touch on the land uses. Yeah.
Perfect.
There's land for
Yes.
agriculture
Yes.
and stuff.
Yeah. Perfect. And this, it's not to be confused with use. It's user. Who is the current? What is the current? You say, what is the current? What can I say it? What is the user? You call it not use because you could use it, to plant whatever. But the user, as per the records at the county government, is what matters. So there could be agricultural. Yeah. So that's pretty much just means you use it for planting. Just do a lot of agricultural works. There is residential, and residential there are two. There's single dwelling where it's just Salama's small 3-bedroom house. Yes, that's a single dwelling. Multi-dwelling is where you have close to 50 neighbors.
Right.
Yeah, but there's big dwelling. Salama
So
small. I like the way
Close to
you
50?
understand the guys. You
Close to
understand
50
me.
neighbors, yeah?
Yes.
Neighbors. We're talking about
No,
neighbors.
yeah, the
Not
neighbors
50
must be-
rooms. Come on, relax.
But it is my property.
Relax.
That is what matters.
Okay,
Relax.
let's just have a
Go ahead.
Yes. And there could be there's industrial, where you see a lot of plants, industrial
Yes.
plants being set up, machinery plants and all that. And there's one that is for quarry, where you see now a lot of mining that is happening. Yes. So as you purchase a property, be very careful as to the current use, because, for example, if you're purchasing agricultural land and you want to build an apartments there, you'll have to seek what we call a change of use process. Change of use, and that you go through the county government, through the physical planning department.
So kwanza you be sure what it is you want to do.
Yes, go investigate the title, see what is the current use of the property. Wengine wanakuzia, they don't tell you this is single dwelling. They don't tell you this is one for agricultural. So you need to investigate and confirm the current use is what you are purchasing for. If not, they disclose that it's agricultural and you want to put in developments in form of buildings, please seek a change of use.
Also, it's not
you
written
can
on stone.
change.
You can change it.
Definitely, but it depends with the zoning areas. Kama mahali wamesema huwezi jenga kama quarry, how can you go be you can't put a residential area there. So it also depends with the current zoning of that area, and that's much dependent on the county government laws. So kama hapa, it will be very this Upper Hill, if you see, it's very commercial oriented. So it will be very hard for you to find someone planting across here or setting up a quarry. They'll reject. Once you make an application for a change of use, the county will reject it, because of the different physical planning and zoning rules, which they're set up pole na county government. County by county, they differ. So the zoning and physical planning regulations of a certain county differs. Ya Bungoma haifanani na Kakamega.
The difference.
Yes.
Ya Bungoma. Kuna mtu nimejua amesikia hiyo sana.
Ya Bungoma.
This is Haki FM, Oasis of Justice.
You're listening to the Corridors of Justice, and we are looking at the due process of acquiring land. We have just been looking at the pre-contractual stage, whereby you just go and see, is this land really existing? The planning, the issue to do with the rents and rates, and all that, and even knowing if that is where you know if the title deed is a freehold or leasehold. So now you've seen that piece of land, you've seen it's existing, it's not riparian land, or it's not land for construction of a road in the near future. Umejua waki-expand barabara ndio mtu anaanza kushanga hadi hapa ilikuwa barabara. And if you look at the maps ambazo ziliachwa na wakoloni, they say it's true your barabara inafaa kuwa that wide, and so unaanza kushtuka. And they also something else ambayo ni so important I'm getting from you is the person selling the land has no obligation ya kukwambia those two little what can details about the land. It's you to figure them out.
Yes, correct.
So now we go to the contract stage. You like this land, you want to buy it.
Yes.
Where do you start?
All right. So after we've established that, we investigated the title, we've confirmed ownership, we've confirmed the use of the property, and you're happy with the status of the land. Now you approach a lawyer. Yeah. Normally for any conveyancing document, it is proper that it's drawn by a lawyer. Yeah, and a qualified lawyer. Section 34 of the Advocates Act clearly defines who's a qualified lawyer. So it's one has a current practicing certificate. So if you're about to purchase land, please just go to the LSK search engine, Google the name of that person. If it's Sandra, you put my name, Sandra Kosgei. It will show you if I'm currently active, whether I have a current practicing certificate. It should be active for 2022. Yeah. Number 2, my name should be on the roll of advocates. That's a qualified person. So if a person an unqualified person draws your documents, that's a problem. Of course, the court will not invalidate them if we are ever to move to a point at which the documents are challenged, but it's always very important to engage a lawyer who is qualified, and I've given you the 2 prongs, as to what constitutes a qualified person. So we move to the contract stage. There are 3 stages to a...
So the very first important documentation for you to certify is that of the lawyer.
Yes,
Of course.
you don't want a quack or somebody who claims to be a lawyer and he's just but a legal intern, a person just a law degree graduate. You don't want that. So establish that the person you're approaching is a qualified lawyer.
Right.
Even ask for their practicing certificate. As recent as this year.
So the practicing certificates is renewed yearly, or
yes, we renew them. We pay a certain fee, a practicing fee to the LSK. Then you're issued with a receipt at the start of the year and a practicing certificate. Yes. So at the contract stage, there are 3 main stages. We call it the writing of the contract, the attestation of the contract, and the registration of the contract. Okay. So let's start writing of a contract.
Yeah.
And this needs to be very clear, any land sale agreement needs to be in writing. A court at any point, if you're ever to land yourself in the corridors of justice, if you do not have a written contract where it's a sale of land, the court cannot enforce such an agreement. So there cannot be any oral sale agreement in respect to land. Okay. That is within that rule is set in the Law of Contract Act in Kenya, section number 3. Section 3 clearly says that anything that involves sale of land should be in writing. Yeah. So in the writing, if, for example, normally for a purchase of land, the one who draws the sale agreement is the purchaser's lawyer. Yeah. The one who is buying. That person's lawyer should draw the agreement. Yeah. The LSK has what we call the LSK conditions of sale. It gives a draft of what a sale agreement should have. Yeah. So I'll not go into a lot of details, but I'll just maybe point out the key clauses that should appear as a purchaser. As you have a sale agreement, look at what constitutes what is within a sale agreement. So the first clauses will just identify the parties. I, Sandra Kosgei, being of ID number and the registered owner of block number 20, Nairobi, Mabu, something like that. Yeah, identifies the vendor as well. Yeah. Then we go to a section called the recitals. This is where you now give more or less you present who you are. So you say, whereas the vendor agrees to sell the property known as, and the purchaser agrees to purchase this, and this. So you declare, you recite what is the intention of this agreement. So that's why it's called a recital. Thank you. Then you give a clause where you just describe. You describe a clause where you just describe things. You describe things as what is a business day. You describe what is called what is the purchase price. Very important. Purchase price. put it in clear, put it in wording, put it in figures as well. Yes. So just a description clause. Then now we move to the important part where you now describe the payment mode. So how are you going to pay? Most of the sales are structured in a way where we have a deposit payment and then we have a balance paid later. So upon signing, most people would agree you pay 10%. The LSK guidelines prescribe 10% of the purchase price. So if you're buying a property for 1.6 million, what would be the 10%? That will be 160,000. So upon executing the sale agreement, you pay 160,000 to the vendor's lawyer. Yeah. Then afterwards, now we go into maybe now descriptions of if, for example, let me just make you now then maybe give, where do you pay the deposit? Do you pay through an account number? Give the details of the vendor's lawyer stroke directly the vendor's bank account details. Then we now go to payment of the balance. How will the balance be paid? Is it upon successful registration of the land? Of the transfer of the land. So you give details as well of that. And then we go now to another big part of a sale agreement, completion, which I'll discuss maybe later because it's a big topic. But completion more or less is the stage that follows execution of a sale agreement. After tumemalizana na sale agreement, we now go to what is called completion. Completion involves registration now of the transfer documents. So in the completion, you give the documents that are expected to be received by the purchaser's advocate. Ndio a register. And you give what is called a completion date. You say that within 90 days, this transaction should be completed. We should have the registered title under the new owner. So completion is very important. Completion date is one of the most important dates within a sale agreement. You should never miss that, particularly on the purchaser. Within that 90 days, you should have collected the entire balance. Umelipa 160, hiyo ingine yote unafaa kuwa umetafuta, because it means by the time you're being given the documents by the vendor, which includes very important documents, his title, clearances of rates, rent, his PINs, his passports, what else? Transfer forms which he signed. Those are very important documents. You just don't give anyone your title. They would run. So it means there is exchange of something. I would personally run.
What it did
So there's an exchange on completion day. There's an exchange of two things. You give me the rest of the money. Balance. You give me the documents to facilitate the registration of the title in my name. You see? Yes. So and then the rest of the clauses just involve around ensuring that you give me, what we call warranties, that this is a property that belongs to you. You've not charged it. It's not near it's not within a river. So you give what I call warranties. If you breach a warranty, if you tell me something, for example, you tell me this is not charged, I go find it later on, you've charged. That's a breach of a warranty. I can terminate that as a purchaser. Okay. So there are warranties within this agreement. There are things to do with possession. When do I gain value? Possession and vacant. You don't want to be given property and there are people staying there, so you ensure you gain what you call vacant possession. And then the other clauses just go around what is the governing law, how do we terminate, if there's a conflict, do you use arbitration? There are many, but I would maybe at some later time I'll explore the others, but I would want to say the most important one is towards completion. Completion is very important. Payment of the purchase price, depending on deposit, the balance, how is that defined, and maybe also the issue of termination and warranties. That is very important. Yes.
Pre-constructual stage, we've gone to contract stage, and we've looked at writing.
Yes.
And she said writing is the most important. It should be in writing. And there was also attestation.
Attestation now is whereby it's now okay.
Yeah, we will be looking at attestation.
All right.
And registration as well.
Perfect.
Yeah. Bit by bit tukiendelea. Because time imetuka short.
All right.
You see, when you discuss something as
flies.
important kawa hii, unapata tu time ina fly.
True.
But the good news is Sandra gets to come back next Wednesday.
Yes.
We have to continue with this. Alafu tunaelimika.
Yes.
Thank you so much for keeping us
you,
company.
Sandra.
Thank you so much for having me, guys.
Take care.
Too.
Hii ni Haki FM, Oasis of Justice.